Sounds good. All right. Thanks everyone for coming out this morning to talk little bit about the Southern and kind of introduce what it is, what to expect, how to make the most of your time in Charlotte. We've got what, 2 weeks left, I guess, give or take, until it starts. So that's three weeks. So that's super exciting. We're looking forward to it. My name is Caitlin Simpson. I'm from the Graduate Council, the SHA Graduate Council. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Tennessee. So thank you all for coming out. This was kind of Rebecca and the rest of the council kind of had this idea, and we got together with the membership council to basically thought it might be good for people who are not familiar with the Southern or what it's like to have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about it. So we're thankful for everyone who got the chance to come, and it should be a fun discussion. So the way it's going to work is a couple people are going to talk for about 5 minutes or so, not very long, just to give an introduction of some of the programs that are be going on. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end to answer any questions that we might have. So we're going to start with Kelly Kennington, who is from Auburn University, and she's the chair of our Committee on Professional Development. And she'll be talking just general information about the Southern and its structure and some best practices for attending a conference. Then we'll have Whit Stewart, who's from the University of Texas at Dallas, and she's the chair of our membership committee. She's going to talk a little bit about the membership committee and its work, the first time attendees reception, that sort of thing. Then following her will be Sharon Wilkins Conrad, who is from Tarrant County College and is another member from our membership committee. And she'll be talking about our Public Square, which is a new program that we started last year and something that we're excited to continue in the future iterations of the Southern. And it's all about public history. So she'll give us a little introduction about some of the public history events that will be going on there. And then I'll chat a little bit about our graduate student luncheon, which is a program that's been going on for several years now and is lots of fun, good opportunity for grad students to get together and eat free food and talk to senior scholars about the profession. And then lastly, Mikkel Carter has graciously, from Brown University, has graciously agreed to help us run the Q&A. And she's also serving on the membership committee, so we're excited about that. And with that, I'll let Kelly kick us off.
Okay, thanks. So 5 minutes to cover the general information. It's a tall order, so I'm going to speak fast, but feel free to ask me about anything in the Q&A. So to start, I just want to say that the Southern is one of the best conferences, in my opinion. I've been going for a long time, and it's a great place to meet people and to talk about your work and learn about what other people are doing in the field. And at first, it can feel a little bit intimidating. So I'm hoping this session will help mitigate some of that, because it is a relatively large conference. To start registration, the first thing you want to do Thursday is, if you pre-register, there's a separate line for pre-registration. Pre-registration just closed 2 days ago, so if you didn't, on-site registration has a separate line, and you want to take care of that. Each day, Friday and Saturday, have 2 main sessions a day, a morning and an afternoon full of panels. I'm not going to go through all of the program for you, but you can see what's going on there. But I also wanted to mention there's a lot going on in the lunch hour. The Southern's trying to expand its programming there. So there's, in addition to some of the ones you're going to hear about from other folks on the panel, there are lots of content-based sessions at lunch as well. And there's a lot of time built in for networking. That's one of the reasons I like this conference, and I think it's one of the better ones, is that they don't overschedule. So there's a lot of opportunities to talk to people in between panels. Every night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evening, there are evening plenaries, and those are all fantastic. And they're all followed by a reception afterwards. So one thing the Southern does well is receptions. There's lots of them. And again, that's part of this whole, lots of room for networking and time to talk to people. The first time I went to the Southern, the receptions seemed a bit intimidating because I didn't know that many people. You're going to see a lot of folks talking to people then and hugging people and seeing people that they haven't seen in years. And if you don't know a ton of people, that can feel a little bit like, well, who am I going to talk to? Kind of circle around looking for somebody familiar. And so I wanted to say for those receptions and things like that, it's usually a good idea if you're there, if you do know someone at the conference, to try to meet up with them there, to kind of navigate that space together a bit. At least I find it a little helpful if you've got kind of a safe person to go back to after you've maybe introduced yourself to someone else. But I also want to encourage you to introduce yourself to other scholars, people whose work you're familiar with, people who look like friendly folks. I would say the vast majority of scholars, junior to this most senior, are really friendly and are excited to meet people and share about their work and hear about what you're interested in. And so it's really great for kind of establishing those connections and putting faces and handshakes with names that you're familiar with already. And I think that can be tough. I realize I'm someone who doesn't mind at this point in my life meeting people that way, but it can be hard to kind of just cold introduce yourself to someone. But by and large, people are really friendly. And so I want to encourage you not to be shy, and to kind of try to make yourself go out and meet some new folks. And that's how you make the connections that if you come back year after year, you're going to be giving hugs to by, or at least I'm a hugger. I don't know, maybe not everyone's a hugger, but getting to see every so often. If you do attend the new attendees reception, which you're going to hear about from Whit, that's also a good place to meet people. That's specifically designed for meeting people. If you don't know a lot of folks, that's a good way to meet some people to help kind of check in with and say hello to at these other receptions and things throughout the weekend. It can make it feel a little bit, more comfortable at some of those larger reception events that can get a little bit loud and chaotic. I also want to close with just a few other kind of highlights. Saturday morning, the SAWH sponsors a breakfast for its members and for non-members as well. The tickets to that are free for graduate students. So if you're a grad student, definitely look into that. You do have to register to get a ticket, but it's free. And it's another great opportunity to meet folks and network. Don't miss the book exhibit. The book exhibit's basically a giant ballroom full of booths with publishers looking to sell books. I know you're going to hear about the Public Square separately, which is also there. But I wanted to mention that a lot of the publishers run discounts throughout the conference, especially towards the end. So if you go Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning, you never know when they're just going to be handing out books or giving them for $5 or something like that. So definitely save a little bit of room in your suitcase for some books. I never end up leaving without some books from SHA. And then the last thing I want to say is that there is a lot going on at this conference. It can be really exhausting. By the end of the weekend, I'm usually completely beat and need a break from the quote unquote break that I took to go to this conference. And so, my line to people usually is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So make sure you're, doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself through the weekend, whether that's making sure you get some sleep, drinking water, drinking coffee, etc. Again, I'm better at giving this advice than I am at taking it. But it is difficult. It can be really exhausting. So pace yourself. And that's all I'm gonna say. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Whit?
Yeah, thanks so much. Happy to be here. Please excuse if you hear weird noises. I think work is being done in my building, so you never know when that's gonna just pop up. I am thrilled to be the chair of the membership committee. I am working on the heels of a revolutionary chair of the membership committee, one Dr. Kelly Kennington, who really helped to transform what the committee does and is working to make sure that we make this organization a 365 organization. We love the conference, but we want to be more than just the conference that meets once a year. And so something the membership committee, in part because of what Kelly has done and what we've been trying to do this year, is to make sure that we have offerings for folks all around the year. And we work to make sure that we bring new people into our organization. One thing that the membership committee does is reach out to folks whose memberships have lapsed and try to identify new cohorts of folks that we can reach out to. We've been trying to do a better job of reaching out to folks at HBCUs and community colleges and public historians. We're going to continue to focus on that over the next many years. You could probably imagine that membership in organizations like this is declining, and we want to make sure that we have a robust and really a good community of folks that we can call upon all year round. And so all year round, we try to create virtual programs that will bring people together. We're really happy to partner with the Grad Council on this, and we're hoping to do more workshops, virtual workshops for grad students that could range from topics including how to write a job letter, how to compose a CV, how to create a proposal for a conference. I mean, there are all different kinds of topics that we think would be useful to have folks who've been doing these things for a while, talking with those who are just at the beginning. And we welcome any suggestions on what y'all would be interested in hearing about as we think about what we might be doing next semester. We also have just some informal networking opportunities once a semester. A couple of weeks ago, we had just what we're calling the coffee, tea, and confab. That is just a time to chat with folks. And so we had several people together for about an hour, just kind of, chatting, confabbing. And it was really nice. And got to talk with people that I hadn't seen in a while and kind of catch up. But it also could be an opportunity. We're thinking maybe of having a more targeted our audience, maybe public historians, maybe K through 12 teachers, whatever it might be, just to give folks a chance to chat. We also have coming up an event called Across the Generations, which is an interview between a senior scholar and a junior scholar. And we have an incredible duo that will be starting off our series in a couple weeks. I know that Steve recently, through the Communications Council, sent out a newsletter that highlights that. So please check out, and you can go on the website to find more information about our interview. And then lastly, we are going to start next semester a virtual program called Classic Texts in Southern History. And this will be a panel of folks from various different backgrounds, all talking about a single seminal text in our shared field. So we're going to start with the grandfather himself, C. Van Woodward, and his Origins of the New South. And it'll be a panel just thinking about what this text means today and what it can still tell us or not. And it will be a really interesting conversation to have, to think about, what is our field? How do we think about Southern history? What texts still matter? And what is our canon, and how then do we actually think about growing it? So that's in terms of our virtual programming. And as I said, we're trying to do more. So if you have any suggestions, we always welcome them. You can send me information. But in terms of what the membership committee does and what membership does for you, it does much more than just support an organization that's dedicated to academic historians and to scholarship. Of course, that's really at the forefront of what we do in terms of the conference, in terms of the Journal of Southern History. But we're also working for folks who are not in, that ivory tower, K through 12 teachers, museum workers, librarians, those who are at the, vanguard of history right now, the people who are on the making sure that they are working to promote to work to advocate for those who are having to confront what is, a difficult time to be a historian and a historical, to be in the historical profession. So the organization is a member of the policy board of the National Coalition for History, which is a consortium of more than 50 organizations that advocates for historians at all levels, at the federal level, all kinds of historians. And so your membership actually helps us to engage in year-round work that is relevant and valuable and deeply consequential beyond just the kind of scholarship that we're all interested in doing in our own offices. So I wanted to take 1 second to also talk about the first-time attendees reception, which is something that the membership committee helps to put on, which will be Thursday at the conference. It'll be from 4 to 5:30 p.m. And then it's an opportunity to meet folks who were there for the first time, but also to mingle with people who have been many times. And we're going to have little stickers or buttons for those who are not there for the first time. That will say something like, because I am from Texas, this ain't my first rodeo. This is indicating that we've been to SHA many times. You should come talk to us. We're going to wear those all the time at the conference. So it's not just at the reception. If you see someone that has one of those stickers or buttons and you're at a reception and you don't know anyone else, go talk to them, because they're there to chat with you and to talk about the conference and Southern history more generally. So you know that will be one of those friendly faces that you can go to. Happy to talk about anything else that the membership committee does, but I know that I'm running out of time, and so I'm going to pass it on to Sharon.
Thanks, Whit. Well, I have a lot to say about what's going to be happening at this year's Public Square. I should say that I will be a first-time attendee, and you better believe I'm going to be at that reception on Thursday night, getting to know everybody, finding people with the buttons to kind of learn as much as possible about SHA. But I'm happy to be a member of the membership committee, and I have been helping, along with Whit and the other members, to plan out the Public Square. And what the Public Square will be, it will be basically a place within the exhibit hall that Kelly mentioned earlier, where you're going to find all those book publishers and folks talking about publications and great resources available to you. But that's also going to be a place for us to gather and learn and socialize throughout the conference. And the Public Square is essentially going to be where we have invited institutions, museums, graduate programs, those who are doing the work of sharing history with the general public. And we are offering them specific slots throughout Friday and Saturday for them to share what they're doing, to provide presentations, hands-on opportunities for you to learn more about the good work that's happening. And we have really focused on the organizations and places in and around Charlotte, where the conference is going to be. So on Friday, one of the first presenters is a guy by the name of Tom Hanchett. He is a community historian who is doing incredible work in Charlotte. He offers walking tours and food history, and he writes. He is a scholar of Southern history as well, and he'll be there talking about, what he's doing, what he's up to, and how you might even want to take part of that while you are in town. We will also be inviting, as I mentioned, graduate programs to join us there in case you are, perhaps pursuing a master's right now. Maybe you're wanting to think about going on to finish out a PhD, or perhaps you're an undergraduate who was thinking about graduate school. We're going to have representation at the conference from Appalachian State, from let me make sure. Also, UNC Charlotte will be there. We will also have representation from UNC Wilmington at the conference. And so that's a chance to kind of learn more about their program, what their focus is, and how you might kind of prepare yourself to become a part of their communities. The other thing that is really exciting are all of the museums that we are partnering with as part of the Public Square. So at different times, and there'll be a full schedule of what's happening in the Public Square, but you can meet up with the folks from the NASCAR Hall of Fame will be there. And who doesn't want to learn about that, and cars, and all the exciting things that are going on at their museum. We also also have folks from the Levine Museum of the New South who will be with us, talking about kind of the work that they're doing, the programs that they're doing, outreach that they're doing, resources that they have at their museum. And the North Carolina Division of State Historic Sites will be there. So, you can learn about the archival material that North Carolina has to help support the research you're doing on Southern history. And one other site that's going to be with us is the Cultural and Heritage Museums of York County, which is a natural history, cultural history, and art history museum that's in the area. And finally, we have a group from Stagville Memorial Project and North Carolina Central University. They're there to talk about kind of the history of the enslaved on Stagville Plantation in and around Durham. And so there's just something for everyone. You will not be bored at the conference because there will be all of these opportunities to learn, engage, and the public square is going to be where it's at. In addition to all those great outreach folks that'll be with us on Friday night or Friday afternoon, there will be a new book reception. So we'll be hearing from authors like Dr. Whitney Nell Stewart, who has a new book, but other authors who will be there signing their books, talking about their books and the research that they've done. They can answer questions about the process of getting your book published. And then on Saturday in the afternoon, both the new book reception and the public square happy hour will be from 4 to 5:30. New books on Friday and the public square happy hour on Saturday. And again, just another place to network, meet people, have a beverage, learn some stuff, and just, again, to make the most of the Southern. So as a new attendee, I've been to lots of conferences. I've never seen a public square option like this, and I'm fired up for it, and hopefully we'll see you there, and look forward to kind of meeting everyone and learning more about history with each of you. So thanks.
And I just also want to note that at the new books reception, there will be a book raffle. So if you're interested in potentially winning a copy of a new book, come on over, put your name in the raffle. We'd love to see you.
Free books are always a plus. Thank you, Sharon. So like I mentioned before, my name's Caitlin, and I'm representative from the Graduate Council, the SHA Graduate Council. Rebecca and Erica, who are in this meeting are also members of the council. And what we do is we're a group of 5 graduate students who it's our job to represent the graduate student voice within the SHA. So we have our own kind of digital programming throughout the year. We have some, chances to talk about your research or to meet with fellow graduate students who are also interested in Southern history or located in the South. Really, we're open to anyone. And so, follow us on Twitter or something to keep up with some of those, or X, I guess now, to keep up with some of those events. But our big event of the year is actually our graduate luncheon, which takes place at the SHA annual conference. And it's a really fun time and pretty laid back and easy. What we do is it's a lunch, so we offer free food, which is always a plus for graduate students. And it's an opportunity to talk with other scholars who are familiar with the profession of history, and it's a good professional development opportunity. So there'll be several tables available for you to eat at and have discussions at. Some of the topics for this year, we're thinking one on public history and community engagement. There'll be one on teaching at a community college, one about the Journal of Southern History and how you publish. And so they're really professional development sorts of conversations. And it's usually lots of fun and chit-chatting and getting to talk a little bit about the historical profession. And it's a good opportunity for graduate students to meet each other, but then also to meet some of these professors and scholars as well. So it's always lots of fun. Registration for it is now open. Let me find the chat and I will put the link there. You can also put the link is also, through our X Twitter account. We've tweeted it there, or if you don't have that and you want it, you can just go to SHA Graduate. So I should type this out earlier at gmail.com, and we'll get that link for you. Just so we can get numbers beforehand and estimates. If you don't get a chance to register, but you're there, then, just maybe show up anyway and we'll hopefully have food for you, but it'll be lots of fun. Yeah, so that's all I've got for the graduate council. We do have to put you on the spot, Steve, if you want to introduce the communications committee, or say a few words about that. We have the time, I think. If not, then we can jump into the Q&A.
Don't have any remarks prepared here, but I can probably, yes. Nice to meet everybody. My name's Steve Prince. I'm the chair of the SHA Communications Committee. We are in charge of, communication. So we run the SHA's, I refuse to say X, I will never say X, the Twitter account. We tweet because that's what you do on Twitter. We don't X on X. We're also in charge of sending the monthly emails that hopefully you're all receiving and reading carefully. We did send one out this week in a bit of a flurry, so apologies to Whit for not getting in touch ahead of time. It just sort of had to happen. If keep an eye out, follow us on the social media, keep an eye out for those emails. If you have anything that you want publicized, feel free to get in touch. Since I'm, speaking, I actually just want to emphasize something that Kelly said in the very beginning, which is that the Southern really is a friendly conference. And, if this is your first Southern, just go up and talk to somebody, just do it. People will be happy to hear you out and listen to what you're doing. And so don't really just do it. And that's not something necessarily that comes naturally to me either, but I think the Southern is a particularly good place to strike up those conversations that can end up being really meaningful professional relationships later on. So.
And you now know us, so come talk to us.
Yes, definitely. We're always happy to answer any questions or just meet and chat. And it's always fun to get to know people at the conference. And this is a great conference for it. I found it always very friendly and open to meeting new people for sure. All right, Mikkel, should we kick off the Q&A?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And so my name is Mikkel Carter. I am SHA's grad student representative. Thank you all for joining us. So I'm going to help guide the Q&A section, and it's really low stakes, so no pressure at all. But just feel free to either unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can put up a little hand emoji or something, or even just type a message, type your questions in the chat. So the floor is open.
I have a question as a new first-time attendee to the conference, and anybody could take this question. It has to do with, I've heard so much about kind of the relationships that are made at this conference, and that's not something you hear at a lot of conferences, that you're making new contacts and that they're really deeply meaningful. And I would love to hear some stories of some of these experiences, or who have you met, or how have you engaged someone new, and how has that kind of been beneficial to you?
I'm going to jump right in there because I can think of so many, but I'll try to just keep it to just an example or two. One, I'll say I met Luke Harlow at my first SHA. Several of people might know Luke. He's a professor at the University of Tennessee, but we met when we were in graduate school, and kept in touch over a couple of years, and we were on the market the same year. And one of those, when you're on the market and you're applying for the same jobs, you might think there would be some sort of kind of weird feeling. And Luke's just not that kind of person at all. And he's become a lifelong friend. I stop in Knoxville sometimes and see him. It's he's been a great connection that I've met. The other thing I'll mention is that the year that I was on the market, I met my, now he's one of my associate deans, but at the time he was the chair of the history department at Auburn, Charles Israel. And I just met him. Actually, I think Luke introduced us. I met him with some of the Rice folks because they both went to Rice. And you know, I was on the market that year. I was applying for the job, and you know, I secretly think that had something to do with getting the interview and making it to the position. I don't know. I cannot confirm that, but it definitely felt like it was a contact that had, you know, actually real meaning in terms of my career. So those are just a couple examples, but I mean, I could go on and on. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, I found that it's a really great opportunity to meet graduate students in particular, in part because graduate students are also there and don't know a ton of people. And so they seem, you know, pretty open to the opportunity to get to chat and meet and talk about our work and find some people who are interested in similar things. And I've seen several connections being made, people who study Indigenous studies, for instance, which has a small but strong contingency at the Southern. I've seen them make connections as well, and some people who it was always a good opportunity to meet fellow graduate students. Some that I've made, you know, through the Graduate Council, John Crum, who's now serving as a visiting assistant editor at the Journal of Southern History, so you can get those publication connections a little bit. And just, you know, really good friends that we've managed to stay in contact with. CJ Working, for instance, you know, we've become friends through working on the council, and the luncheon's a great place to do that. But then also just walking around and seeing and attending panels, you know, don't be afraid at the end of a panel, if you've really liked someone's work or thinks, you know, they're interesting, don't feel free to go up and chat with them. They're always happy, seem to be, that I've run into, happy to get to talk with people and excited to speak with people about their work and then just the profession in general. So I would say, you know, don't be afraid to go up and talk with people, can build some really hearty relationships that way, and maybe serve on a panel at another conference or in a future Southern together in the future. So, yeah.
For me, it was it's both at the conference, but then it's after. Meeting people at the conference and then following up with them has built relationships that are very meaningful, both professionally and personally. My first ever conference presentation in grad school was at the Southern, and folks who came up to me or asked questions at the end of the panel, and then we ended up at a reception together, and then I ended up emailing them and asking them for advice about applying for fellowships that they had already won a few years ago, and it just kind of, you know, it builds on itself. So for me, it was the openness that I experienced while at the conference that led me to feel able to follow up after and to continue to build relationships with folks.
That was a great question, Sharon, and also some wonderful responses as well. Are there more questions? Feel free.
Hi, I have a general question just because it's something that surprised me my first Southern is like, who attends the Southern? Do you have to be, as a grad student, do you have to be presenting on a panel? Is everyone there presenting or there for an official reason? And I mean, I guess, is it just people doing work on the South that are at institutions in the South, or how, I mean, who are the kind of people you're going to meet at the Southern?
I mean, I'd say it's both. You know, it's people that are, you know, the SHA is an organization for people in the South and people studying the South. So the vast majority of people at the conference do study the South in some way, but a lot of different ways. And some of them are kind of tangential. But if you're at a Southern institution and you're not studying the American South, we've got panels. You know, there's a European history section, a Latin American Caribbean history section. There's discussion of a Native South section, although I don't think they have officially formed that yet. So there's a bunch of people that go that aren't even necessarily American historians or North American historians, and then I go every year, whether I'm on the program or not, and I think a lot of people do too. One of my graduate students is going this year. It'll be his first Southern, and he's not on the program. He's put in for next year, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. But yeah, I think it's fine to go whether you're presenting or not. You know, it can be a great place to absorb a lot of scholarship in a single weekend, whether you're actually giving your own presentation or not.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of the few conferences that still people go to, even if they're not presenting. And that's in part because of the scholarship, but it's also because of the social aspect of it. It is a fun conference. As Kelly noted, there are many receptions. So, you know, it's a bow tie and bourbon place, old school in that way, but it's also very welcoming. We hope. And if it's not, then you please tell us. That's also a thing we should say. These are our experiences, they're not everyone's. And we want and need to hear, especially from folks who it's their first time, the good and the bad, the ugly, whatever it is after the conference is over. Reach out and let's chat about your experiences, because it's going to help us make a better organization and a better conference. So I think, you know, anyone here who is a part of the SHA, whether it's the grad council, the communications committee, the professional development, or the membership committee, all of us are interested in making sure that this is an open and welcoming organization and conference. So please do reach out with both, you know, 5-star reviews or 1-star review, either.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. This will be my 4th Southern and I have not presented at it yet. So, but I've always still felt welcome and had a great time. So you definitely do not have to be presenting to attend. And I actually think it's a really great conference for your first ever conference, because it's big enough that there's a lot of things to do and to see and lots of people to meet, but it's not huge. It's not the AHA. It's not these giant OAH, these giant conferences where everyone seems to know each other, but you don't. And it can be not to knock those, they're wonderful as well. But I think this is a great size conference to attend for your first time. And I've always enjoyed going, even if I'm not presenting. And I can also speak to, you know, not necessarily studying Southern history, in that my dissertation kind of touches on the South, but it's not, by no means the main focus. I study US and Latin America. And so I've been to some of the Latin America sections, and they've been very interesting and fruitful with lots of great scholarships. I've also had a friend who presented through the European history section, and she had a great time and got a lot of good feedback. It's actually a good place to get feedback from people who may not be experts in your field, but can talk about it thematically or get a good outside opinion on your work. And so I've always found it very fruitful for that as well. Kelly, did someone else? Okay. Kelly, I was going to ask, did you have a list of a few local things that might be kind of fun?
Sure. It's just a few places what I have is a list of places to eat and have coffee around there. This is something, if you Steve's laughing because he knows that, you know, one of the
Priorities.
things I do is eat really well at conferences. This list is actually intended, it was gathered by Lisa Frank for meeting up, for matching up mentor pairs and like suggesting places that they could eat. That's one of the programs we put on this year. It's closed for this year, but certainly if you didn't get a chance to sign up and get paired with a mentor, that's something that we do. We're working on making it something that's a year-round thing, because a lot of these meetups are happening virtually, but you can, for next year for sure, sign up and we'll pair you with someone in your field or someone. We'll have a list, and you can tell us who you'd like to be paired with. And then they can, you know, you can make that contact either virtually or over coffee or something like that. So the list I have is from that, and I will share that. The SHA does not have a local arrangements committee this year. But there are, I mean, I think actually the public square is a fantastic place to get some of this information as well, given how many of the local institutions and museums and such are going to be there. But I think usually there is at least some kind of, you know, some flyers and things that will be around registration if you're looking for things to do, if you're have some time in between things or before you leave town. So I will post my list though. I'll get it.
I want to make a suggestion. Since the mentor program is closed, you could do your own informal mentor program. Go through the conference program. If you see someone whose work you love, reach out to them and see if they want to get coffee. Why not? Like this is an opportunity to meet face to face. They're not going to forget you. They're going to be thrilled that you like their work and you want to talk to them. I think that's, I've done this several times. Unlike Steve, I am not afraid to go up to people I don't know and talk to them, which, maybe is its own problem, really. But, why not try to use this time to meet folks who you respect, and then you also have another person at the conference that you'll know. So
I'll second that. I mean, I've been on both ends of those emails and have, met some wonderful people and had some great conversations. So, and the Southern is a great place to do it for all the reasons that have been mentioned. It's a little smaller, it's a little more manageable. There's a little more space time built in to have those meetings.
see that there's a coffee and cats place, which I'm going to star. I want to see that. I want to experience that.
Me too. Maybe their cats are friendly. Mine is not.
I'm headed to the donuts myself.
Yeah, sorry, it pasted kind of funny, but hopefully everyone can use that list.
When you go back to your institution from the conference, what are some like action items or things that you do to like incorporate the things that you might have learned, or the people you might have met and made connections with? And when people are making these connections, I feel like I haven't gone to like a conference in a while, but I'm assuming we're not using business cards and we're using like LinkedIn or email. But what are the ways that you like make the connection then and there? Like, are you using social media? Is it LinkedIn? Is it the email? What's the most effective? What have you all noticed you get the most response from when you're making those connections? And then what are some things that you kind of like take away from the conference when you go back to your home institution?
I will jump in and say, I've not carried physical business cards with me for a while. Part of that is I got them before I became a PhD candidate, so they all say PhD student. But I will also say, there is an app you can get on your phone. It's called Hi Hello. I have it. It is completely free, and you can create like digital business cards, and you get to create 5 different ones. And you can put like your link to, like, you can put your LinkedIn on there, you can put your email, anything you want, but you can make different ones. So like, not only do I do history, but I do educational technology here in Arizona. And so I get to create 2 very separate ones, with different information and like my different associations based on those like 2 separate parts of my life. And so I super recommend the app. It's called Hi Hello. Hold on, I'm going to make sure. Yes, it's called Hi Hello. And you can create, like, I have 4 of them set up and it just blurred. But when you click on it, you get this like amazing looking card with all of this information. And then you can send it to people. You can text it. You can send it with like, you can write it to an NFC chip if you're like fancy, but I am not that type of person. But you can do all kinds of things. But it's like completely, it's you can get an immense amount of it out of the free thing. So that is the best digital business card, not carrying something around, that I have seen. So highly recommend.
I'll also add as a grad student that if someone is on a panel, like it's got their affiliation. And nowadays, like I'll go up and introduce myself and say where I'm from. I'm a grad student at UCLA. And then most of the time they'll just be like, my email's listed. If it's a professor or senior scholar or other grad student, a lot of times emails are just, you can find people pretty easily. And it seems a little stalkerish sometimes, like I'm finding your email, but it's publicly listed, and I'll just send an email, usually from my UCLA email address, because they'll know it's an EDU, it's a student thing, and just say, hi, I met you at the Southern. and say something. But I've done that too for people like I haven't met yet, and that I'll see on the program. I'm like, ooh, and I'd really like to meet them. And I'll say everyone is really friendly and usually responds and says, yes, let's meet up, or I don't have time at the Southern, but let's Zoom or something. So just emails are usually pretty well posted, and I've never had like a senior scholar or professor like give me a business card, I guess, physically.
I am now feeling like a dinosaur because I have them, uh but but also the digital ones are way cooler, and now I'm going to get those and maybe join the 21st century. But I wanted to answer the other part of your question, which is what to do when you get home. I'm a compulsive note taker. Like I write everything down, probably more than I should. And so when I'm listening to papers, you know, part of how I stay focused, honestly, it's a focus thing for me. I think when people are talking is to take copious notes. And so what I like to do is I make notes to myself about, you know, if I want to follow up with someone and there's a line 10 people deep after the panel and I don't get a chance to connect with them, I might send an email afterwards. I'm the kind of person that will just send an email and say, your paper was amazing and it's going to change the way I talk about this particular topic in my lectures. And, you know, I think people like to get those emails, even if there's nothing else ever comes of it and we never meet in person again. But I think what you asked is something I don't do enough of and should, is going back and taking a few minutes and actually making the edits to things that I do in class, whether that's lecture notes or discussions or things that came up in panels, that because it happens, not all the time, but a lot of times it does happen that I want to kind of revise some of my thinking on things based on someone's work. The other thing I do is at the book exhibit, they usually have printouts or booklets of the books that they have on offer, and I don't buy them all there because sometimes I fly. I'm driving this time, so I'm in trouble. I'm probably going to need a separate suitcase to bring it all back. No, for real, like you're laughing, but I'll post my stack after. But no, one of the things I do is if I'm there and they're not selling the display copies or something, I'll circle the ones on the piece of paper that I want to buy. And when I get home, that usually those conference discounts are good for another month or so. And you can, I make it a point to go ahead and order those. And I do think it's good if you've met a bunch of people to just send a follow-up. Hey, it was great to meet you. I hope we can keep in touch in the future. That's all you really have to say, but those are some of the things I do when I get home and try to find time to sleep because exhausting.
One thing I do at the conference, which makes it easier for me afterwards, is I create an album in my iPhone and I take photos of all the books that I want to buy. Because I'm also usually flying. And so I can't purchase as many as I would want. And I'll even take a picture of something, I don't know, like anything that I might want to think about later, I'll take a picture of. And that's why it's all in the same place. And then when I get home, I go into my Zotero, and in my to read file in Zotero, I have all the new citations that I pull from the press website or Amazon. And that helps me know that these are things that I'm indeed wanting to read and need to keep. And I also have I use my notes app a lot. And so if I'm at a panel and someone is mentioning a book, I'll write it down, and I'll do the same thing in terms of my Zotero bookkeeping.
Just to modify, I have gotten business cards actually from publishers. And if you are a grad student, if you go on Sunday morning, they have to be there. They are in the book exhibit. And a lot of times, one, they'll give free books, but two, they just want to talk about, they know that's when a lot of grad students come. So they will talk about what you're doing. And it's a good contact I didn't think about before my first conference that you can talk to someone from UNC Press, which is one of my favorite presses, and get a contact. If it's not the person there, they'll be like, oh, you want to email this person to see. You can kind of get a preview sometimes too of what's in the pipeline, what hasn't been announced, and so-and-so has a book project with us. So I do get the physical business cards from the publishers in the public square area.
That's a great tip, Rebecca, with the, I mean, if you're a grad student, early career, wanting to move into a book, it's an awful lot easier. I think from the press's point of view, to have with the introductory email, we talked on Sunday morning at the Southern, just to have that like face to a name. So I think, and you're totally right, Sunday morning is totally the time to go. It's dead in there. They have to be there. That's absolutely great advice. I just got a box of business cards, so I'm bringing them and you're all getting them. Everybody's getting my business cards because it's a big box.
Well, you got a fancy new job, so you want to get those business cards.
Yeah, just here. I'll bring the whole box.
So we may have room for one more question. If anyone has another question.
Can we take just the last like 4 minutes? I would love to hear just very quickly from the grad students, for the first time attendees, like, who are you? Where are you coming from? What's your work? So then when I see you in Charlotte, I'll know we can jump right into a more in-depth conversation.
Hi, I'm Jewel Dixon. I use she, they pronouns. I am at Vanderbilt University and I'm working with Sarah Igo and Kim Welch. And I'm a 19th and 20th century American historian, particularly interested in history of education and gender and sexuality. And my research is looking at queerness in public schools across the nation, but I also want to think about that in particular in the South. And I came to graduate school after having a small career in K through 12 education.
Awesome. It sounds super fascinating, for sure.
Hi, I'm Maven Beard. I'm a master's student at Auburn University, and I'm also the program manager at the Caroline Marshall John Center for the Arts and Humanities. So I've been doing that for a long time, doing lots of programming around the state, working with Kelly on some projects. And now I'm doing a project on the United Daughters of the Confederacy here in Auburn, and their relationship to the university and campus history.
Neat. Sounds fun. Campus education history seems popular. It's good.
I don't know, Caitlin, should we introduce ourselves, like the three of us that are on the grad council, just so
Yeah.
people
Sure.
know us?
Yeah, do you want to kick us off?
I'll kick us off because I think it's actually what Jewel. I was at Vanderbilt for a while, so I love Vanderbilt, and then maybe talking about like the United Daughters of the Confederacy. I was there when like there was all this controversy over the UDC had donated money for Confederate Hall, and so it's bringing back all my early mid 2000 memories. But I am a grad. I'm not a student anymore. I'm a PhD candidate at UCLA, so way out of the South, in Los Angeles, and I look at juvenile Black female patients in in the Federal Psychiatric Hospital in Washington, D.C. So I look kind of race, gender, age, and disability is my larger focus.
I'll go next since Caitlin didn't take herself off mute. My name is Erica Price, and I'm a fourth year PhD candidate at Arizona State. So not as far west as Rebecca, but definitely not in the South. But my research is largely environmental and urban history, and my dissertation is looking at what I'm broadly calling the political economy of water in New Orleans from 1718 to 1879. So getting kind of beyond just talking about New Orleans water as a function of flooding, because there's so many more interesting things. And I think that some of that stuff gets kind of obscured by the flood of 1927. So I want to bring that back to light.
Fabulous. I'll unmute myself now. So my name is Caitlin Simpson. I'm a 6th year PhD candidate at the University of Tennessee, hoping to finish within the year. So we'll see if that happens or not. My research looks at the United States and Latin America in the 20th century. Specifically, I look at the history of the cut flower industry. So the flowers we buy at the supermarket, florist shops, most of those come from Colombia. And I look at how those flowers that adorn our lives and holidays help to connect us as consumers in the United States with the primarily female workforce in Colombia, South America. And it also deals with environmental issues of flower production in Latin America and the rise of like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and all sorts of interesting gendered aspects as well. So that's kind of what I look at. Yeah. Well, anyone else want to introduce themselves while we're here?
I think Mikkel should tell us about what she's working on.
Yeah, Mikkel.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everybody again. So I'm working on Black men's style during the Black Power movement and the intersections between their style and masculinity, but then also Pan-Africanism or Afrocentricity. A part of my research slightly kind of dabbles into Southern history, because I'm also very interested in looking at style at Southern HBCUs, and also possibly just supposing that to schools up north, maybe Ivy League. So I'm still trying to think through that. So yeah, but overall, my general interests are Black internationalism, 20th century social movements, and the intersections between culture and politics.
Y'all, the future looks good. These are all incredible projects.
Sure does. Surround Regina.
I was just gonna say, yeah, these projects are fantastic, and can't wait to get some of you on panels so we can hear even more about this great research that you're doing.
Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. We're at our hour, so we'll let you all go. I know everyone's busy this time of year. Hopefully we'll see all of you at the Southern here in 3 weeks, which is exciting, right around the corner. We are recording this, so it will be posted as well, hopefully to the SHA YouTube channel, and we'll link the social medias as well, so that other people who didn't get a chance to come can hear this great conversation. It really was a great conversation. Thanks everyone for the presentations and then the great questions as well. I think it's been a really fruitful, and hopefully we can keep doing it in the future, and before future conferences. So with that, I guess, thanks again. See you soon.
Thanks, y'all. Look forward
Thanks.
to meeting you in person.
Yeah.
In Charlotte.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. Somewhere over the recording.